Ladies and gentlemen, it is Immy here. It's very early.
Hello. I bet you didn't expect to see me here.
I think maybe there is an expectation that every time I'm here you do silly intros. I'm not sure if you do them on your own.
No, I'm very professional when you're not here. You bring out
Yeah.
the silly in me. So
hmm
we had something interesting happen to us, or happen, I guess, for us 3 days ago, and it's been stuck in my mind, and it keeps replaying because I've thought there was something useful there, something we could talk to the audience about.
Yeah, you've brought it up a lot in like the last 3 days.
Yeah, it's been bouncing around in my head because I'm like, this is like a teaching moment. Like, I can use this. And so a couple of days ago, like 3 days ago, and we were sitting in this cafe and this guy walked past and it was a bit disheveled. Maybe he was homeless. And I smiled at him. And I smile at everyone all the time. And 90 fucking 2% of people smile back. A small percentage of people just ignore me. And this guy was obviously having a bad day.
Yeah,
Maybe a
to be
bad
clear,
life.
the way that we were sitting, I was facing away, like I was facing Andy, and I couldn't see any pedestrians walking past, so I didn't really know what was happening.
Yeah, you kind of just got a big surprise, didn't you?
Yes,
From
I
your point of view, you're probably like, what the fuck? So
got quite startled and
I
upset.
see this guy walking past.
Mm.
He laughed to himself or something, and that made me smile. And I smiled at everyone, so I gave him a big smile. And he snapped, immediately snapped, and came running over and is like, what the fuck are you smiling at? And kicked. There was like this metal barrier thing that we were sitting next to. He like kicked that with full force, kind of hit you a little bit. You were okay, you're not dead. And I was just like, whoa, buddy, it's okay. Like, I was confused. And then he sort of stormed off. You know, the cafe people came out and they were super nice. They were like, are you okay? Like, you okay? Don't worry about him. He's like,
He's a
homeless.
local.
Yeah, he's homeless around here. He's a bit violent sometimes and all of that. And, you know, you were a bit upset, obviously. I was a little bit like startled. I was like, what the hell? And I even had a thought for half a second. I was like, should I have not smiled at him? And it's like, no, dickhead. Like, smile at everyone. That's, you know, very interesting reaction. We're going to talk about this in a second. But yeah, it was just bouncing around in my head since then. You know, this was like 3 days ago. And I said to you this morning, I want to talk about this. There's something juicy there that I think we can relate to the audience, or some takeaway learning lesson that we can learn from this. And so we kind of bounced ideas. We actually have like 5 or 6 different things we're going to talk about today. But I think maybe what we start with is let's apply it to dating.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different angles that we can attack this from. Pun intended, I guess. We can attack this from. Maybe the very first idea I'd like to explore here is my brain immediately afterwards, and some of you in the audience might be having this thought as well. My brain was like, yeah, you shouldn't talk to homeless people. Or you shouldn't smile at homeless people. Or you shouldn't smile at people that look a bit, I don't know, what would you say, disheveled, like unclean? Whatever word we want to label him with.
Yeah, I think it's almost like the childlike naivety of like everything's about me. Like
I did something
yeah,
wrong.
it's a result of
Yeah.
me that the world responds
Yep.
to what I'm doing rather than the world is just existing and I happen to be a part of it. Like I think because children definitely have that solipsism of like,
Yeah.
I'm the only person that exists and everything exists around me.
And it was my fault. And if something goes well, I get the full credit. It's my ego that gets to get inflated. If something goes wrong or not the way I wanted, then it must be my fault. We can kind of apply it to rejection. Hey, like it's basically rejection. So many of you will say, I talked to this girl or I talked to this guy and they said, no, thank you. I have a boyfriend. What could I have done better? And it's that part of our brain, like you said, that innocent little childlike part of our brain. And we all have that part that goes, okay, I did something wrong. I should have done something better. And I had that too. That was my first thought, was like, was it wrong for me to smile at him? And I obviously thought about that for 10 seconds. And I was like, no, that's absurd. Like, smile at everyone, Andy. 95% of people have a great reaction. This was the one in, how many people do you think I've smiled at in the last like 37 years of my life? Probably like 10,000 people.
Yeah, it's probably gone up quite a lot in recent, like in the
Yeah.
last few years. But yeah.
It's probably like 5 people in my entire life who've had a negative reaction of me smiling. And so many of you, this relates. Like you'll walk up to a girl, maybe she'll say, fuck off or something, which is like a 1 in 1,000 response. That barely happens. It happened to a coaching client of mine recently. And we were talking about how absurdly rare that is. That's like, we haven't had a coaching client go through that for like a year or so. Happens like once a year that a coaching client will be like, this woman literally told me to go fuck myself. It can be a little different in clubs and bars when people are a bit drunk, but like on the street during the daytime, it really happens. But the guy that it happened or that went through that, his first thought was like, what did I do wrong? He literally said, what did I do wrong? Should I have said something different? It's like, bro, you walked up to a girl and you said, hi, you're really pretty. Can I talk to you? Like, what the fuck else are you supposed to say other than that? Like, are you supposed to say, excuse me, like, please don't attack me. I just wanted to give you a compliment. Is that okay? And that was literally his question to us. He's like, should I have asked her if I could call her pretty? And I was like, bro, that's like literally still calling her pretty though. So like, no, you're fine. It would be like if I said, should I have like made eye contact with that guy and like asked him if I could smile at him? And it's like, no, that would have triggered him probably harder than you smiling at him. So yeah, our very first thought is like, what did I do wrong? What should I have done better? And it's like, sometimes nothing. Sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. The other person was just having a bad day or a bad week or a bad life.
Yeah, people are going to do what they're going to do. And I think it's natural, especially when you have like a very unexpected or startling experience. Like, I think it's normal to be like, to be hesitant around it happening again, especially when it's something very obvious like violence, where I think our biology kicks in and is like,
or a woman saying like, fuck you, like you shouldn't talk to me like that. You shouldn't be hitting on women, like a very strong reaction.
Yeah, I mean that's a violence of words in a way. Like it does feel like, obviously it's not physical, but it still feels like a threat to one's safety to be, in a way, like it sounds dramatic, but like verbally abused. It's like I guess what I'm saying is like it's okay if the next experience that you have, if you feel a bit hesitant or nervous or worried that you're going to repeat that experience. Like I think that is a learned biological trait to be hesitant. To avoid situations like that. Like even like if you have, I've even noticed like when I encounter a particularly aggressive dog that's like barking at me, the next time I'm around a dog, even if it's like a golden retriever or a corgi, I'm a bit like, oh, do I need to be wary of this dog? But I think the more that you expose yourself to that thing and teach yourself that like that's the 1 in 1,000 occurrence, the more that you realize that it's okay. Yeah. Whereas I think unfortunately, especially when it comes to things like hitting on women, if you've not done it a lot and you happen to be a little bit unlucky and get that 1 in 1,000 interaction, it can be easy to think that like that's the norm and to overgeneralize. And we're actually having that conversation this morning as we were talking about like what we were going to discuss in this podcast, that like I think a lot of homeless people get a bad rep because there's probably a high percentage than normal that have mental health issues or might be a bit erratic or violent, which is part of the reason why some people are homeless is because they have maybe behavioural.
Like I think that guy would struggle to get a job. Obviously, that's such a big statement. Because of the mental health issues and the violence.
And it's very easy to generalize. I mean, it's what our brains like to do because we like to categorize information so we can kind of learn and recognize patterns faster for safety reasons.
Yeah, and so I guess the angle is, if any of you guys or girls listening have had some experiences that maybe shook you a little bit in dating, like maybe you dated a guy and he said he wanted something serious, but he just slept with you once and then said, I don't want to do this anymore. Your brain might be tempted to go, men are all fuckboys and, they just use you and abuse you. Or maybe you walked up to a few women, hit on them, and they were like, no, thank you, I'm not interested. Or maybe they were cold and they just ignored you. That happens sometimes, It can be so tempting to be like, women are bitches, or maybe I'm ugly, or maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe this is hopeless and I shouldn't try. Like it can be very tempting to think in terms of like black and white, like to make it a big deal and go, like you're almost developing a superstition. You're saying like all women are bitches because 1 or 2 weren't super nice to me, or all homeless people are dangerous because 1 was violent, or all men are fuckboys because 1 or 2 weren't able to communicate and be honest and say exactly what they were looking for. And maybe they lied a little bit and they used you a little bit, if you want to phrase it like that. It's so easy to take one bad apple from the group. They're not even a bad apple, just like one experience from that group and then apply that to the whole group. And I mean, that's how like literally racism forms. That's how sexism forms. And we don't mean to. It's just like you said, we're trying to avoid that thing happening again. But the answer isn't to like demonize the entire group. The answer is to realize, okay, part of humanity, part of existence means that some people will be We'll talk about this in a second. Low down on the map of consciousness, and we're going to talk about the map of consciousness in a second. Like they're down there in anger or fear or whatever. They're having a bad day. They're having a rough life. And maybe we don't spend time with that person, but that doesn't mean that the next person in that same general group is going to be exactly the same. And that takes a bit of practice and a lot of leaps of faith.
Yeah.
I went through this myself. Back when I was working on my sex and dating life, I remember posting on the Good Looking Loser forums, which was a forum that I was on at the time. And I was bragging about how I ghosted some woman or I'd broken up with her or something. And I was bragging about it. I was literally saying like, I'm a big man because I broke up with this woman. Yeah, I got to like say no to a woman. Look at how much power I have. It's a man saying no to a woman. Normally women reject men. Now I get to be the rejecter. And I was literally bragging about it. And one of the guys, his username was Terminator. I will never forget what he said. This was like 9 years ago at this point.
And it's actually something you bring up a fair bit in content. I think because
I'm
it
so grateful for
stuck with you and it felt like it was a very pivotal point for you, is my understanding.
Don't let me say what it was.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep talking.
I interrupt you all the time.
You do.
It's nice that you interrupt me back a bit. So what he said, what this Terminator guy said, was don't punish this one woman for the mistakes of others. Like I was literally sitting there going, I got to punish a woman because other women had punished me. And he was like, no, other human beings had punished you. And they didn't even punish you. They just didn't want to sleep with you or they ghosted you or whatever. They were going through their own shit. That's fine. That was one woman who did something. Now you're going to punish all women. And I mean, that's really common. If I just Google now, men suck or women suck, it'll be like 4 billion results on Google. I actually almost want to actually see what the results are when I Google this.
And I think like it's easy to find evidence for
Hey, Google doesn't tell you how many results
whatever
there are
your
anymore.
story might be. Like I think it's like if you're looking for reasons why men suck, you're going to find a lot.
So many examples.
If you're looking for reasons why women, like if you focus your attention on the things that are bad, you will absolutely find that. And similarly, if you focus your attention on things that are good, you will find that as well. And I think it's worth considering like which perspective is going to be the one that helps you work towards the things that you want in life.
If I go around, sorry, you go.
If you're wanting dating success or to meet more people or to have better interactions or to be more attractive to other people, like it's going to be in your benefit to have a more happy outlook, to like people.
To forgive the group for the mistake of one person.
Yeah, it really does. Like your energy affects how the world responds to you. And if you're going around finding all the things that are shit about life, like the world is going to reflect your beliefs in that.
Yeah, if you go around thinking that women suck, it's going to be really hard to build a fucking connection because you'll take the least charitable view of everything that they do. Literally, you'll see stuff there that's not there. And we'll talk, maybe let's segue into that because that was another point I wanted to make is this guy took the least, the guy that got violent, took the least charitable view of what I did. I smiled at him. Stop and think about that for a second. And he had mental health issues, clearly, blah, blah, blah. So like none of this is judging him, but the events that occurred, a stranger smiled at him and he assumed he was being attacked and he needed to defend. A stranger smiled at him. A smile. I can't think of anything more friendly or loving than a smile. Like, I literally can't think of, like, maybe a hug. Maybe, like, telling someone, like, I hope you have a nice day. Like, a smile is on the level of, like, I hope you have a nice day.
Sure. And I think even the best intentioned things, if you are somebody that thinks everyone's out to get them, like, you're going to perceive that as, like, they're mocking me, they're laughing at me, etc.
That's clearly what he thought. Something like that. I can't mind read, so I don't know. But the same thing will happen in dating. There are a lot of you that are struggling with dating right now, and you probably don't realize this is what you're doing because you're not doing it consciously. So it's not your fault. We're not blaming you. We're trying to help you wake up so you can change what you're doing. There are so many of you in dating right now that women or men are doing the equivalent of smiling at you, and you're taking it as an attack.
Yeah. How many times have we heard in comments or even clients that say, like, I went out to hit on women and I could tell, like I could just tell that she wasn't into me,
Yep.
or I could tell they were judging me, or I could
Yep.
tell people were looking at me and thought I was being weird for hitting on someone. Like it's very easy to make assumptions about what other people are thinking based on where you're at.
Yeah, you're doing, and again, you're innocent in this. We're not blaming any of you. I used to do the same thing, so have you. But you're doing the equivalent of someone smiled at, I smiled at this guy and he literally got violent and essentially hit you. I don't think he meant to hit you, but he kicked something into you. So he literally assaulted someone else. Again, I don't think he intended to, but like, it's hard to know, right? Like he was definitely not trying to add love and kindness and positivity into the universe. We'll phrase it like that. Because someone smiled at him. And his assumption was, this guy's attacking me, this guy's judging me. That, like Immy said, there are so many of you out there right now that are going outside and seeing a girl and being like, nah, she's too good for me. That's exactly the same thing. You're literally making an assumption about what might be in someone's head or their intentions, but you haven't even checked. You haven't even asked. And we do that on a constant daily basis. And we think the naive thing, the cute thing, the innocent thing is that we assume it's protecting us. I was listening to a podcast. I'm in the middle of a podcast by David Hawkins, one of my favorite people, about fear. And he literally says, we think that we're only safe because of our fears. We think that our fear is what's protecting us. We think if we defend ourselves and attack when we need to and put up shields and walls and defend and try and mind read and all of that, we think that that keeps us safe. And we think that on a very deep level, most of us, I don't think this anymore. I've moved past this. I think you still think this a little bit, but you've let go of most of this. Most people think that the only reason they're alive is because of their fears. They think my fears have kept me safe. And if I wasn't afraid, then I'd just walk out into traffic and die. If I wasn't afraid, then I'd just go to the dangerous areas of town and I'd die. If I wasn't afraid or insecure or any of those lower sort of level emotions, then I wouldn't take action. I wouldn't get a job. Most of you think the only reason you have a job is because of your fears. You're afraid of being homeless, so you get a job. You're afraid of being alone, so you go and get a girlfriend. You're afraid of, I guess being homeless again, so you go and stockpile money. Fear doesn't have to be the only motivator. You can do it from love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key lesson or to be gained from that, is that you can actually take the exact same action,
but just not out of fear,
but with a different energy behind it. And I think when it is a positive thing rather than a fear-based action taking, it's a lot easier to take action, because fear in a lot of ways can be exhausting. It can be crippling. It changes like your decision making versus like when you're excited and enthusiastic and loving. Like it feels very effortless to make decisions based on love, like
or
that
happiness or joy or excitement to do something rather than fear of not doing something.
Yeah, that well that you're pulling from that, like those positive energy, to motivate you, like that can be infinite versus like the fear, terror, like to a certain point that has a shelf life. And after a while, when you are acting out of fear or even like anger sometimes, like pushing yourself out of shame, guilt, anger, fear, like it can quickly lead to like a hopelessness or an exhaustion versus, the flip side.
Yeah, and maybe another angle that we can talk about here is when you're lower down on the map. I guess let's show the map of consciousness on the screen. All right, so this is the map of consciousness, and it was made by a clinical psychologist / spiritual teacher, a guy named David Hawkins. And essentially it's a, map or a hierarchy, a listing of the main categories of emotions that humans feel. And the ones down the bottom, guilt, shame, apathy, grief, fear, I think every human being on the planet would agree, those are less effective at getting you your goals. Yes, I don't want to sit around feeling guilty and ashamed and full of fear and crying and apathetic and depressed. Yes, I would much rather feel the emotions at the top, like love, joy, peace, enlightenment, maybe reason, which is just being logical and rational. Those emotions feel nice. When we're a little bit lower on the map, when we're stuck down in those emotions, and it's not to judge those emotions aren't bad, they're just limited. Like if you're walking around feeling guilty and ashamed, you're just a less effective person at getting your goals. Doesn't mean you have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, it means you almost like can't access the stuff that's higher up.
Yeah.
Versus when you're higher up, there's more of a understanding of everything else on the map.
Yeah. So when you're clouded by anger, you're just not rational. You can phrase it like that. Again, to really underline this, the guy that we're talking about, the guy that got violent, someone smiled at him, and his anger was so strong. He was so stuck in that anger and probably a lot of self-hatred. And I don't want to mind read, but a lot of shit was clearly going on. He's so low down there that he literally can't connect with the love that I was trying to give him. My smile was one of love and just connection, just a human being. I see a human being. He was laughing about something to himself. I smile. I smile at human beings all the time. Like I said, 90% of them will connect with that and feel some love or some happiness or something like that. He's not even able to connect with that. He can't understand that. He might not even be able to feel that. It might be years. I don't know. I'm mind reading again. It might be years since he's felt any happiness or joy or love. I think someone that would get violent at a smile without even saying like, why the fuck are you smiling? And then I would have said, oh, sorry, mate. I heard that you were laughing, so I was just smiling at you. I hope you have a nice day. And then he would have gone, fine, fucking, and left. I've had interactions like that with people, with homeless people. I told you about the guy in 7-Eleven who was like calling me a faggot and stuff. And he's like, you fucking faggot, you fucking faggot. And I turned around and I was like, are you okay, man? And he was like, well, you fucking faggot. Like, yeah, I'm fucking okay, you fucking faggot. And I was like, well, I hope you have a better day, man. Like, is there anything I can do for you? And he was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Like, that, like, he was able to at least.
It's a slightly better interaction than
Yeah, slightly better. Like, and that guy was like being aggressive from the beginning, but he was able to connect with like, okay, this Andy guy is not a threat. This stranger, this bold, beautiful stranger is not a threat. I don't have to attack him. Even though I already did attack him, but he was just peaceful. And so, okay, I don't have to be scared of him. But this other guy that we're talking about that got violent is so low down on this map of consciousness. And again, I hope it's clear that that's not to judge him, but he's clearly like feeling a lot of the emotions down the bottom, right? Like if nothing else than anger. He's so clouded by that he can't even rise up the map of consciousness. And for a lot of you listening, that's your reality. Like quite a lot of your questions are based completely on fear. Like you'll just ask me questions that I can just see the fear dripping off your question. And again, that's not to judge you, but like you're like, what if she rejects me? That's fear. But what if something goes wrong? What if people hear me? What if people listen and see me, talking to her? And what if I get a bad reputation? What if I hit on one girl and then I hit on another girl and then they say that I hit on both of them and then they talk and something bad happens? Like, what if I get a girlfriend and she breaks up with me? What if I have sex with a woman but it's not very good? What if I'm with someone and her last partner had a bigger dick than me? Like, it's all based on fear. And when you're feeling those emotions, you literally are barred, like disabled from feeling the emotions higher up. Like it is literally impossible to feel a lot of love and joy and peace and acceptance and logic when you're clouded by fear or anger or guilt or shame or any of that. And a lot of your questions that you guys and girls ask are dripping with the emotions down the bottom. And again, that's okay. We don't judge you for that. I've felt all of those emotions down the bottom. I still do sometimes. So do you.
I definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't say that we've let go of all of our fear. We're just slowly moving up this map. Look right here. If I do it like this, then it's literally, look, I'm pointing. Isn't that cool? We're slowly moving up on the map to these ones up here and trying to feel more of those. We're all a work in progress. We're all making progress on that. But yeah, like in dating especially, those of you that are clouded by your fears or like, what if she rejects me, or past anger, like bitterness or baggage, which I guess you'd just call that anger or grief, I guess. When you're so clouded by that stuff, you literally can't feel the emotions up here because you're too busy being all the way down here. And you literally are so clouded by those lower emotions that, like you said, a woman will be super nice to you and you'll be like, she's probably just going to fuck me over. Like there's a guy in my coaching group right now who's literally going through this himself. He's so clouded by his own, I guess, what would you call it? Like self-hatred almost. Like he has low self-esteem and he doesn't think he's a very good person, which is interesting because he's ridiculously handsome, just such a loving, honest human being. He's so genuinely kind. He's such a nice person. There's actually two guys in the group right now. You might be able to guess who I'm talking about. One of them is the Russian guy and the other one is, I believe, also Russian. Anyway.
Not that relevant. Yeah.
Both of them trying to give you hints so you know who I'm talking about without saying their names, but both of them are just such lovely human beings. And one of them in particular, no, both of them, women are being really nice to both of them because they're both just nice people and they're both fucking handsome and they're both really cool, interesting people. And every single time, or a lot of the time when it happens, they're like, I don't understand why she's being nice to me. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because you're a nice person. You're ridiculously fucking attractive. You're incredibly masculine. You walked up to her and said, hi, you're really pretty. Can I take you out on a date? It's like, why the fuck wouldn't she be nice to you?
Also, people can just be
sometimes
nice
people are
for
just nice.
being nice. Like,
it's kind of like
people don't necessarily need a reason to be nice.
No, it's like this guy that got violent that we're talking about. I was just nice to him because I'm nice to everyone. But in his mind, he's like, why the fuck are you smiling at me? Because I smile at everyone. But you're right. Sometimes we take it so personally and our self-esteem is so low that we think we're such a piece of shit that we're like, why is this girl being nice to me? Because she's just nice to everyone, bro.
Yeah. And
like, she's just nice.
Simultaneously, like, it is like an ego-driven
this
perspective.
This is 100% the ego, yeah.
As maybe I said at the start, like that it almost comes from the belief of like there's people like have an ulterior motive and people responding directly to me and they've got an agenda with me particularly. It's like, no, maybe they're just going about their life, doing their thing, continuing to be who they are. And people like that, any particular interaction that you might have, like that person's just treating you the way that they treat everyone, which might be nice. And they might be just genuinely getting a kick out of going around with like positive, happy energy and being kind to people and making other people smile. And they're like, and then you can come in and think like, what's their ulterior motive? What are they trying to get out of me? And it's like, no, they're just doing their thing. Like, relax. It's not about you. Like, they've probably actually not thought a great deal about you other than like, I'm just going around having a nice time, like la-di-da.
Yeah, this applies to so many of you listening. I really hope that resonates. If it doesn't, that's okay. But like, so many of you were like, why is this woman being so nice to me? Why is she making this easy for me? This is almost too easy. Maybe she's a slut. Or maybe she's trying to fuck me over. Maybe she like secretly wants to use me for a relationship or something. Or maybe she's going to show me her true colors a little bit later on. Or you know what? I bet the only reason she's doing this, like being nice to me, is because she's manipulative. And so you know what? I'm going to keep my guard up. If anything, maybe I should break up with her before she breaks up with me. Like I went through that period. There's lots of you that go through that period where you will literally break up with people or keep them like at an arm's length and not let them get close and not be intimate with them or vulnerable or build a connection. And you're like, no, it's just going to remain an emotionless, cold hookup. We're just going to fuck and I'm not going to get feelings. We can't cuddle after sex. Maybe we can for 10 minutes and then I got to kick them out. I'm not going to let myself get hurt again. How many of you can relate to that? How many of you put your fucking hands up? I want to see them. Put your hands up. Put the hands up in the chat. Put a hand up emoji. If you've ever said either out loud or in your head or to friends or something, the statement, I'm not going to let myself get hurt again, or I'm not going to let myself get used like this again, or I'm never going to go through this ever again. I'll put my hand up. Put your hand up. You've definitely said this. Literally every human being on the planet probably has said, this is never going to happen again. I'm never going to let this happen again. I'm never going to let myself get used again. And then we put the walls up. Guess what happens? There's a quote from Byron Katie that I love. Don't be too careful. You might hurt yourself. And when we put those walls up, we basically all but guarantee that we'll be hurt because it fucking hurts to sleep with people and not build a connection and be so terrified. You're literally hurting yourself with your own fears.
Sure. And you block a lot of the good things when you have all of these
Everything
walls
high
up
up on the map. I forgot how to point. All this shit up here you block.
Yeah, it's kind of like the people who are looking for a partner or even something casual and they're saying like, I can't find any good men and or women. And the irony is that because you're walking around saying all men suck or all women suck, you're actually blocking any of the nice people because that's immediately unattractive to anybody that's just like a happy, well-rounded, nice person. If they're not going to date somebody that has their guard up, has walls up, automatically hates them for just existing. Yeah. So
yeah, if you think about it, like that homeless guy, the guy that got a bit violent, I assume he's homeless. The guy that got a bit violent, he would walk around, I'm making an assumption, but he probably walks around thinking the world sucks and everyone's an asshole and everyone's out to get him and it's him versus the world and all of that. Otherwise you don't get violent at someone smiling at you. you would see that person as your friend. I'd be like, hey, what are you smiling at? And I'd be like, you know, I hope you have a nice day. I like smiling at people, bro. And he'd be like, that's so nice, bro. Thank you. What's your name? And then, like, I've had these interactions with so many fucking homeless people or strangers where they like my smile, they smile back, and they give me some of them big toothless grin. And I wish him well. I'm like, bro, I got nothing but love for you. I want you to be happy. But he doesn't get to have any of that or receive any of that because he's got his walls up, and he would never know that. He would, like, if we could somehow sit down and have this conversation with him, he would probably say, yeah, but people have fucked me over, so I have to. And that's so many of you in dating. You're like, yeah, but you don't understand, Andy. If I'm vulnerable, I will be hurt. If I'm honest, I will be used and manipulated. If I tell the truth, it will be used against me. And you're so terrified, and it's okay. I used to be too. Believe me, I get it. So do you. We were both so scared when we started this. We started out casual, and you literally started out by saying, I'm never getting feelings. I can't hold your hand in public. I can't like cuddle with you too much because then I'll get feelings about it. And I was like,
and then you'll hurt me. And
yeah,
you
literally said it.
And then you even said, like, at the start as well, like, I'm emotionally fucked up or something.
Yeah, I said something like that. I was like, you're emotionally stunted or something.
No, you said about yourself that you were.
Oh, me. Yeah, we both were. I literally said, look, I'm emotionally fucked or something like that. I've been through 2 long-term relationships.
Bunch of train wrecks.
Yeah, I think we both said, I was like, look, I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a train wreck when it comes to relationships and dating and love. And you were like, yeah, I'm a fucking mess. And I was like, okay, but let's like try to just be gentle with each other. And so you can feel that defensiveness and just be honest about it. Like we were. It was really hard, but we just were. We were just like, look, let's just tell the truth. I'm a fucking train wreck in relationships. And you were like, yeah, me too. I'm a fucking mess. And I was like,
yeah.
All right.
It's sweet looking back because we were certainly doing our best. But
we were so adorable. Don't you just want to cuddle our past selves? We were like such little sweethearts.
I do often have the thought, though, if I met past Andy, that'd be a hard pass. I'd be like, no, thank you. I wish you all the best, but like,
we
no
met
thanks.
at the perfect time. Yeah, but now, if you and I met now with the people that we are, I would date you right now.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
current
I
Andy
know.
met you, I'd be like, hey, bitch, what's up? You're cool.
And then I'd be like, you just.
I
I wouldn't respond too well if the first interaction I had with somebody was, hey, bitch, what's up?
No, I wouldn't open up with, hey, bitch, what's up? Sometimes one of my favorite little things that I do with you is when you're standing, like if we're in public and I go into a bathroom or something, when I come out, when you're like standing there waiting for me, I will walk up to you and be like, hey, look, I know this is really random, but I thought you were really pretty and I wanted to come say hey and, you know, say what's up. Do you have a boyfriend? And then you're like, I do have a boyfriend. And I'm like, why don't you ditch that boyfriend and get with a man friend like me? Like, and then you give me a cuddle. I do like to pretend to hit on you. Like when
yeah, sure. And then you often like grab my ass.
Yeah, and then I'm like, hey girl, like, wow. And then I start grabbing your boobs.
Like,
yeah.
choke me.
Don't do that with people that you hit on properly. I just want to put that.
I feel like that doesn't need to be said.
Yeah,
but...
don't grab the boobs or the butt. Anyway, point is, what the fuck was the point? I forgot the point.
Be nice to people. And I feel like that's the whole, I don't know, summation of this podcast is like if you go out and assume
the worst.
I was going to go the opposite and say assume the best, you're going to welcome in positive interactions. And you can still, I think sometimes what people conflate is they worry that if they go around thinking that people are well-intentioned and trusting people or having love for people, that it's going to mean that they get manipulated and fucked over and
That's
used.
the worry, yeah.
But as I was saying, like when you are higher on like this map of consciousness, you actually have a more rational, well-rounded.
You're literally up here at reason, which is like logic and rationality
of things, and you can see things a little bit better without all of that like strong, like negative or low down emotionality, and you can still have very healthy, happy boundaries while being a happy, trusting, loving person. And the beautiful thing is you can. Something that Byron Katie says that I think we both really like when she talks about relationships is you can say, I love you, but no.
Yeah.
Like
you can say no up here from a place of love. So like someone asks you for something, you're like, I got nothing but love for you in my heart, my brother or my sister, but like, no, thank you. That's just not what I want.
Yeah. It doesn't mean saying yes to everything and letting people do whatever they do. And I think that's the fear. And again, it's coming from a place of fear. When you say like, if I'm trusting, then people will walk all over me. It's actually like,
yeah, it's like, why would they? I had this discussion with one of my coaching clients last week where we were talking about like rising up the map of consciousness to these instead of down here in fear, because he was operating his business from this one, fear. And his question was, but bro, if I'm more loving towards my clients, won't they use me? Like, I don't want to do a bunch of stuff that I don't want to do. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're having two separate conversations here. I'm not saying to say yes to everything. How would saying yes to everything be love?
Yeah, funnily enough, like if you're feeling like guilt or shame or fear, you end up doing things you don't want to do because you're afraid of what people think like of you. You feel guilty for not being a good person. Like you actually end up doing a lot more. You tend to have worse boundaries when you're lower.
So many of you listening are down here on the bottom of the map, and that's okay. Like, again, I'll say it for the millionth time. It's okay to be down here, but you're down here and you're so afraid of being used or being hurt. But as Immy is saying, understand that when you're down here, you're fucking dog shit. I would just say it like that. You're fucking dog shit at enforcing boundaries when you're full of anger, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame. Like, you're terrible at enforcing boundaries. Really shit. Because you're feeling lots of fear and you're so caught up in the fear. The easiest person to manipulate is someone down here. And if you do any research or read any books, psychopaths, not that you need to walk around being afraid of psychopaths, but psychopaths want you to walk around being afraid of psychopaths. There are so many studies on this, so many books on this. It's such an obvious statement when you understand it. But psychopaths literally prefer people who are vigilant for psychopaths. What I mean by that is psychopaths and manipulators and narcissists look for the people who walk around afraid of psychopaths and being vigilant and going, I'm never going to let anyone use me. Like the biggest thing that psychopaths and people like that and users and manipulators look for is someone who goes around saying, I'm going to make sure I never get used. I'm never going to get used, because you're not rational. You're so afraid and caught up in your fear that it's so fucking, you're like a child because you're just not logical when you're afraid. And so people can just use basic psychology tricks on you to use you. And it's fucking easy to manipulate someone who's terrified.
Yeah, maybe even like bringing it back to like a tangible example of like sex and dating. I feel like we've all heard of, or at least know the trope of like the person's like, oh wow, all my exes are crazy. Like I'm so over like crazy, like abusive,
all men are fuckboys,
or like
and I'm so sick of
needy
fuckboys.
exes. It's like sweet. So they're absolutely going to go for another person.
Yes, I'm never going to date anyone who's a fuckboy ever again. And you're like, all right, your very next boyfriend's going to be a fuckboy.
All the fuckboys are like sweet. Like that's
100%. I've had this with some coaching clients who are like, sorry, not coaching clients, but like other people. None of the coaching clients would sort of be like this, but I've seen other guys in like pickup artist communities and stuff like that specifically hunt for the women that say no fuckboys.
Yeah.
And you're like, you would hear that and be like, wait, but she said no fuckboys. The innocent, naive, maybe the inexperienced guys out there would be like, but wait, if she says no fuckboys, if you're a fuckboy, wouldn't you not date her? And it's like, no. Like she is the one that the fuckboys would like, I don't like this word, but like hunt for, if you get what I mean. Like they would see that and be like, great.
It might not even be intentional, but it kind of, it's almost this.
It's like challenge accepted.
Yeah, it's not so clear as like, I'm going to prove her wrong. It's more just like a natural inclination towards somebody that's giving off the vibes of like, yeah, they're definitely like, we're going to be able to both play games and take each other on this emotional roller coaster. Like you're kind of screening for that of like, that's something that I put up with or will engage in.
She's communicating. I've fucked a lot of fuckboys. So if you're a fuckboy, you can just get in there and just have one more little cheeky fuckboy. Like you just be one more little fuckboy that I fuck, and then I'll be serious. Because like the person who's actually serious about not dating fuckboys anymore
doesn't need to say.
Yeah, they don't need a big declaration. She's almost saying it because it's the innocent part of her where she's basically saying, look, I don't have strong boundaries and I don't trust my own boundaries, so I need you to enforce them for me.
It's like those love songs that like, I don't care about you and I'm over you. And
then they make a whole love song about how they're over the person. Yeah, like
I would never get back with you.
Ever. Yeah. And so she's basically declaring, I don't have strong boundaries. Can you please enforce them for me? I can't trust myself. So any fuckboys, please, I need you to not come here. Don't match with me. Don't text me, please. I don't trust myself, please. And it's an innocent, sweet part of her. Like, I want to give those girls a hug. And be like, look, change what you write in your bio. Don't say no fuckboys, because all the fuckboys will see that and be like, or some of the fuckboys. There are lots of nice fuckboys out there, you know, but there are a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of fuckboys that will see that and be like, this is going to be easy mode because she doesn't have strong boundaries. And they might not even be consciously thinking that. They're just like, cool, I'll try it anyway. Why not? And then they end up sleeping with her. And then they're like, oh, I guess women lie when they say no fuckboys because I'm a fuckboy. I made that clear. And I guess we can fuck. And sometimes the opposite will happen, or often. We talked about self-sabotage and projection and all of that. I've brought this up a couple of times because it's such a beautiful example. One of my coaching clients who's just finished up his coaching, he is just such a lovely human being. He's so nice. Actually, I did an interview with him. It's on my channel. His name is, I can't remember if I said his name on the interview, so I won't say his name, but it's like one of the most recent videos that I did, coaching interviews. And he's such a nice person. He's just such a lovely human being. And he hadn't had sex in like 6 years or something, or he'd only had sex once in like 6 years or 9 years or something crazy. Hadn't had a lot of sex. I guess it's not that crazy, but hadn't had sex in a long time. And he matched with this girl, and she immediately was just like, no fuckboys, like, you're a fuckboy, I don't want a fuckboy. And he's like, I'm really not. Like, I haven't had sex in 9 years. I'm like the least fuckboy, and I've only ever had sex with like 2 women in my whole life. Like, yeah, I want casual sex, but I'd like it to be ongoing. I'd like us to be good for each other. I want us to be very honest. Like, we encouraged him to be very honest, and he is anyway. He's just such a nice dude. And she literally was like, no, you're a fuckboy. You're going to use me. And he was like, I won't. And they had this big, long conversation. They went on a date, and then they go back. He's like, you know, do you want to come back to my place? And she's, again, basically like, what? Are you just going to fuck me and then ditch me, right? You're a fuckboy. And he's like, look, I'm not.
Yeah,
like,
this was the girl that was really weird.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm not. And I like you. If you don't want to have sex, we don't have to have sex. We can go on more dates. Like, he's just such a fucking nice dude. And the whole time she's like, no, you're going to use me. You're a fuckboy. And so they go back to his place or her place or something, and they start making out, and she keeps like stopping him and pushing his hands away. And every time he stops and he's like, hey, do you want to finish up? Do you want me to go home? Like, do you want to stop? And she's like, no, just, you know, it's like this big fucking Shakespeare drama, Romeo and Juliet drama. She's just like, no, like, get away from me. You're a fuckboy. You're going to hurt me. And he's like, I won't. Like, how about we just don't have sex then? And then they'd sit there for a bit, and then she'd launch herself at him and start making out with him again. And he'd be like, okay, I guess she wants to fuck me then. She's kissing me. And so they'd make out a bit, and then eventually he'd be like, can I touch your boobs? And then she'd be like, push him away and be like, no, woe is me. Why do I keep meeting fuckboys? And he was like, what is going on here? I'm just a nice boy. I'm just trying to be a nice boy. And you're saying I'm a fuckboy. He wasn't really crying, but he's just such a nice fucking dude. And he's like, I'm confused. Like, do you want to stop? And he literally said to her, I'm confused. Should we just stop? How about we stop? I don't know what's happening. I'm just a nice guy, and I haven't had sex in like 5 years, and I don't know what's happening right now, but I like you, and how about we go on another date? And then again, she keeps starting and stopping. She's the one initiating every time, making out with him. He now knows, okay, if I meet a woman like that, I'll just leave. Like, I don't want to be in that drama. But he was unsure what to do because he's never been in that situation. Fair enough. And so they eventually end up hooking up, and he's asking her a bunch of times during it, like, are you sure about this? Do you want this? Are you sure? They have wild, passionate sex. And then as soon as they finish, literally as soon as they finish, he starts cuddling her, and he's like, wow, that was amazing. And she's like, yeah, ha, 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 you're probably going to ghost me now like a fuckboy. And he's like, don't say, that's not nice. Like, he literally said, that's not a nice thing to say. Like, you're not being nice to me now. Like, that's not a kind thing for you to say about me. And she was like, ha, 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 I'm just kidding. And so she ends up leaving. She's like immediately like, I want to leave. And he's like, why don't you just stay? You can sleep over, we can cuddle, or, you know, you can leave, but you don't have to leave immediately. And so she's like, I'm going to leave. And as she's leaving, she's like, you're probably going to ghost me. And he's like, I won't. She hasn't even left his apartment building. Like, literally 30 seconds later, he goes on Tinder, and she's unmatched him. And he sends her a message and says, I had a lot of fun. And I think it was on like Apple where you can see the little ticks or whatever, and it wasn't red. So she'd blocked his number too. And so that's like the most perfect example of what we're talking about here. When we defend ourselves and we think we're blocking ourselves off from fuckboys or women that would hurt us. And it's like, as you said before, sometimes you will meet someone who's a lovely human being, who's exactly what you want. She said she didn't want fuckboys. She wanted nice guys. She met one. But she was so fucking busy being down here in fear that she couldn't even feel the emotions up here and realized that she'd met someone that was like a little bit up here in the middle or up at the top. And so you're literally pushing all of those people away, even when they're literally trying really hard to give you what you want, which is why we say play to win rather than playing not to lose. So rather than saying, I don't want fuck boys, you say, I want a nice guy, or I want a decent dude. I want someone that would stick around. And he'll go, oh, that's me. And then you get that thing.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know, I can't know what this woman's going to go on to do, but it wouldn't surprise me if she continued to tell the story of like, all guys ghost me.
He
and they're
used
fuck
me, he
boys.
ghosted me, I had to block
she
him.
might not say that he ghosted me, but you kind of just ignore the outliers or the things that don't fit your narrative.
Yep.
It's very easy to keep affirming and to kind of forget about, like, have that attention bias where you forget about the things that go against these beliefs that you hold.
Yeah, because you're down here, any of you that are sort of down here, and again, that's okay. We're just slowly making progress and moving up. There's a million ways to do that. Probably the Play to Win video course is the easiest way. I literally have a chapter on this map, literally in there. And I talk about how to move up the map. But when you're lower down on the map, like we said, you're cut off from, or you're less likely to experience all the stuff at the top of the map, and you don't even know that you're doing it. Like, you really don't. And I forget what I was going to say. I was going to say some really cool fucking point there, but essentially you shut yourself off from kind people and good things happening, and you just don't have a logical, rational, that's what I was going to say. You rewrite stories. Like you said, she would probably tell the story of like, I can never find a good guy, because that's what she was saying to him. And he's like, but I'm a good guy. You've met me. Do I not count? And in her mind, no, you don't count. Because in her mind, she'll be like, well, we can't know, but I've seen this enough times. People will be like, I dodged a bullet with him. And then you'll be like, what? How did you dodge a bullet? He seems like a nice dude. He's attractive. He's ambitious. He's started his own business. He's into self-improvement. He's very kind to women. He's keen to explore his sexual side and improve at that. So he's going to be eventually very into BDSM and kink and cool sex. And he's going to care deeply about your pleasure. Like, and he's just such a fucking nice dude. It's like, you got a catch. You landed like an absolute catch of a human being. How did you dodge a bullet? And then you'll be like, yeah, because eventually he'll leave me like all the rest of them. And so you'll tell this false story. And so many of you are telling those stories, and that's okay. But again, we think that our fears are protecting us. No, they're holding you back from the thing you want, which is why we say all the time, play to win rather than playing not to lose. When you let the fear and any of these low-level emotions drive you, you're literally just trying not to lose. And you're like, I hope I don't lose. I hope I don't get used. I hope a woman doesn't hurt me. I hope a guy doesn't fuck me and then ditch me. You're literally just trying to do, it's like you're aiming for a draw at the best. Like the best you can ever hope for is, I hope I don't lose. So what, you got like neutral, you got a draw, like someone didn't use you, but you didn't win. Like you're never going to win when you're stuck down here. And that's kind of the basis of the Play to Win video course. If you want to win, you got to be at least willing to go into maybe the middle here, like courage. Just aim for courage. I'm going to have the courage to be a little bit vulnerable. Like if that woman that we're talking about with my coaching client, if she had just had the courage to be like, what if I don't block his phone number? Like that's it. That's the only courage that she needed. What if I just don't block his phone number? I've blocked a bunch of other guys and I'm tempted to. What if I just wait until tomorrow? And he literally did send her a message. So if she just had chilled the fuck out and not blocked him within like 30 seconds, he said it was literally 30 seconds. She hadn't even gone down the bottom of the building yet and she'd already blocked him. If she had just waited 30 seconds, she would have got his text message saying, I had such a blast. I promise I'm not. He wrote her this really long message and he said he tried to be really nice. And he was like, I promise I won't ghost you. I really like you. That really meant a lot to me. That was the first sexual experience I've had in like years. I really, really like you. I would really like to do that again. I can't wait to see you again. If she just had courage, and that can be hard. I get that, because all these emotions down here, they're tricky little fuckers, aren't they? They'll lie to you. The fear is the biggest liar of all. But guilt, shame, apathy, grief, fear, anger will lie all the time. These emotions are liars. They'll just lie to you. And then you'll do things to self-sabotage, or you're trying to protect yourself. I guess it's not self-sabotage. She was trying to protect herself. The guy that kicked and got violent with us was trying to protect himself. But at the end of the day, you can take a step back and be like, protect yourself from what? Protect yourself from someone smiling at you? Come on, protect yourself from some guy telling you that he likes you or potentially saying, I don't want to date you. Cool, then don't. Like nothing bad happens, but our fears will lie to us and tell us it's the end of the world if someone smiles at us or mocks us, which is probably what that guy was afraid of, or breaks up with us or breaks our heart. Nothing bad happens other than your story about it.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing about the day and age that most of us live in now, is that nothing that bad really happens to us. For the most part, we're protected and safe, and most of us have somewhere to live and food to eat, and we're not in physical danger for the most part. So like especially the social interactions that we're very afraid of having, and I'm exactly the same. Like I'm still somebody that cares a lot what other people think and sometimes gets scared about rejection or people judging me. But if I take a step back, like it's understanding that nothing bad actually happens if people don't think the highest of me
or reject you.
And generally speaking, that's not what's happening anyway. It's more my worrying about something that's not even there. So
yeah, we misinterpret reality. Like we project everything, we filter everything through our egos and our stories and our assumptions about what's going on and mind reading and all of that. You know, this girl that we're using as the example misunderstood reality. She literally wasn't facilitating with reality. She was literally not living in reality. She was living in the illusions in her head about her stories about this guy, you know, my coaching client is going to fuck me over and all men are fuckboys. That's not reality. That is literally not what is currently going on. And the guy that got violent with us probably lives in the reality of everyone's dangerous and this guy's mocking me by smiling at me. Literally, that is not true. And so I guess we can start finishing up and leave all of you with this little idea to bounce around in your head. Maybe, or ask yourself, are there assumptions or are there beliefs that I have that might just be assumptions? And maybe they're not correct. Maybe they're very low down on the map if I actually honestly examine them. Or if you're not sure, you can ask someone else. You're very welcome to hit me up for coaching and I can help you. But examine them and say, am I maybe not fully seeing the whole picture here? Like, is this assumption that all women are bitches or that I'm ugly or that it's too late for me? So many of you have the assumption it's too late for you, or now's not the right time, or women are never going to date me, or men are fuckboys. Whatever assumptions or stories you might be telling, start playing around with the idea and bouncing it around in your head. Is that true? Like, am I actually correct, or am I maybe only partly correct? Maybe you're partly correct, but maybe there's a little room for like a little bit more nuance or more detail or more information there. And maybe you're making it very black and white and saying all women suck. Maybe you could even just start with the little statement, play around with this of like, maybe lots of women suck. I mean, hell, maybe start with maybe 99% of women suck, but 1% don't. Maybe I'll go find that 1%. Or maybe 99% of men are fuckboys and they just want one thing and they're just going to use you. But maybe there's 1% of men out there that are nice. What if I go find that 1%? Maybe 99% of homeless people are dangerous and they'll kick you. But like, what if 1% aren't? And so start teasing out that little bit of doubt. I want to finally finish up by saying we're grateful for this. I want to make that really clear. Because it can be...
Sure. This experience has not necessarily resonated with me. I've not really thought about it, but I know you have a lot. So I don't necessarily have any strong emotional...
But are you grateful that it at least allowed us to have this podcast here today and talk about all of these ideas?
Sure.
And help people? Yeah. And so you can look at any event and be like, I'm grateful for that. You can tell a story of gratitude. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be very tempting to be like, some guy kicked at us and got violent. That's bad. Or this girl rejected me in a harsh way and she was mean to me. That's bad. But tease around again the idea of like, maybe that's not even true. Maybe I can look at it through a new lens and see some gratitude or see some underlying victory in there. Anything else you want to add to these beautiful, wonderful, lovely people?
Nope.
Go out there, crush your goals. If you'd like more help with that, we have the coaching program. I'll run the little outro at the end, but I am very grateful for all of you.
I'm grateful for them too.
Yeah, good job. I was about to say, this is the part where you say that you're grateful for them too. We're grateful for you. We love all of you. Go out there, crush those goals. And if you want help with that, coaching is in the description.
If you've been wanting an amazing, awesome, elite sex life, tons of threesomes, plenty of wild adventures and great memories with awesome people, we would love to help you get there. Here's just a little bit of what our coaching clients have achieved in their time in the program. Renee had a threesome in just his second week of coaching. Had a woman write him a love letter, and he went on to have sex with 12 women in just 12 weeks of coaching. Corky had his first threesome, slept with 7 amazing women, and made a ton of awesome memories with them. George and Power both had sex with 10 women each in their 12 weeks, had a bunch of wild adventures along the way. Join me and join them by clicking the coaching link in the description below.